How much work have you guys been able to get in with the new kickoff rule during the last couple of weeks?
So we drilled a lot of things in phase 2, on air, drops, get offs, tracking the football, catching the ball off live foot with the returners, and then obviously as we transitioned into phase 3, which is OTAs, and you can actually have somebody line up against you, we've done more things there in more, I would say, more of a team environment to try to feel out the spacing, the timing, and how that play is gonna look on both sides.
Has there been anything kind of unexpected? Obviously it's different when you're doing it in the classroom and then doing it on air, but then you really start to give live in a sense. Is there anything unexpected that maybe we've had to adjust, kind of go back to the drawing board?
Yeah, it's a trial and error process throughout this whole development of the hybrid kickoff and the kickoff return play. And we're just honestly just trying to feel it out and try to come along as fast as we can and take what we're seeing on the field and apply it to the next practice, the next meeting, and just see improvement in all areas.
How limited are kind of what you can figure out with the inability to go full speed? I mean, how much do you have to kind of wait to figure out until you can kind of start hitting people and going all out?
Yeah, you can go at a pretty high tempo. Obviously, we're not having collisions now in the OTA setting, but we feel like we can figure out the timing, at least in the spacing, relative to where the ball is and where it's fielded and things like that. So I feel like we have a pretty good grasp on it right now.
How much of the other league film have you looked at?
Of the XFL stuff? I mean, we studied it quite a bit leading up to, the players coming back. Our analytics people did a hell of a job on that. Me, Brav, Rabes, Kevin, we sat down for a lot of time and met on it, just talking through schematics and how that play is similar and different to what we're going to be doing. So I think there's some similar concepts that carry over, and we'll use some of what we saw in that, in that other league stuff, but the play is different from the XFL. It's a lot different.
Do you have different type players, Bubba, on either return or coverage than you would have in before this change?
Yeah, I think so what we've done is we've repped quite a bit of skill players as far as the body types. We've repped pretty much all of our skill players back there, receivers, even some of the tight ends. We've repped a good bit of the running backs. Everyone has really gotten more ball handling than we've had in the past. And I think on the flip side of it, on the coverage aspect of it, you are going to see more, defensive players, and I think that you're going to see some bigger body types on that unit.
The coordinators got together to make these changes, or
right,
to suggest these changes, I should say. Are you talking to any of them around the league right now, or are you in your competitive silo trying to come up with your own stuff? There's
a handful of guys that I've talked to. I don't like to share a lot of things that I think or how I see it, but no, there's definitely a handful of guys that I trust and can, I would say, confide in, I guess. Share similar ideas and see what they're doing. It was more on, I would say, more communication with other guys earlier in the process than now, since we've started on the field.
Is Tyler Huntley involved?
Say that again?
Is Tyler Huntley involved in the return game?
We haven't used him back there. No, we haven't used him back there, but I mean, we could, Tony. We could see what it looks like.
And you've got to conceal a lot in the preseason, I would imagine, right? I mean, this is a whole new world for everybody. But how do you practice it at game speed if you don't use some of it?
What I think is beneficial for the play overall is compared to how the kickoff and kickoff return play was in the past. So now, obviously, with the play, you eliminate the speed and the space on the rep. So in the past, you wouldn't be able to rep as many kickoff and kickoff return plays within a special teams period. Now you have eliminated the running portion. Really, that's why you wanted to have less reps back when it was back with the older kickoff. Now you can probably get more reps because you're eliminating the speed. You're not taking as much. You're taking more off of their legs. So I think that definitely plays a factor.
Bubba, you have Cade back in the building.
Yeah.
How has he been kind of being back in here? How do you think this last year how do you think he sort of dealt with this last kind of year since you guys let him go and now brought him back?
I think he's been good since he's been back. He really has. I think that, I think he's learned a lot. I think that he's grown up quite a bit. And I think that we've seen a good bit of improvement in all areas of his kicking performances to this point.
How can you tell, well, because he was pretty good in practice before, but it was the games that didn't go so.
Yeah. I think time will tell. Yeah, I think time will tell. So we're excited to have him back, and I think he's worked hard to get back to this point.
Has Kevin given you his blessing to use anybody that you want in the return game for these kickoff returns in terms of star skill players and whatnot?
I would say to a degree. Yeah, I would say to a degree. I think across the league, you're going to see more high-profile players back there. I think, just guys that are good with the ball in their hands, because there's elements to this play that play like a kickoff play. Like a true kickoff, kick return play. There's elements of the play that could look like more of a punt return. And I think you're going to see a variety of schemes in that sense. I think you're going to see some schemes that you're going to try to get on guys quicker, and it's going to look more like a punt return. I think you're going to see some teams that will have schemes and plays that look like the old kickoff return where you're going to retreat in your blocking technique. So I think you're going to see a variety of things, and you're going to see a lot of different body types back there.
Well, I know you've known Hines for a while, obviously, but to get him back after that injury he went through and how hard he's working, what can you just say about him and what he might add as a return guy?
Yeah, I mean, first off, great kid, great player, great teammate, in every meeting, I would say very good leadership from him. He's helping out the young players with the return stuff right now. He has not been on the field yet, but very attentive. I'm really excited to have him back, and he'll definitely be a part of what we're doing.
When we talked to you at the draft,
Yeah.
you indicated players were volunteering to be on this.
Yeah.
Why are they so anxious to be a part of it?
Well, I think you're going to see some more defensive players, maybe wanting to get involved because, first off, I think that this play is going to impact the game a lot more than people think. I think that there's an opportunity for both the coverage team and the return team to have big plays. And, a lot of times, guys, like in the past, I would say you'd have some pushback on starters wanting to be on the unit because being on the kickoff unit in the past was hard because you're starting to run, whether it was kicking off from the 30 or 35, that's a long way to run and then go right to a defensive play. That is hard. Okay, that's hard to do. Now you're eliminating the space of the run. There's a lot of elements of a defensive play in there. It's opportunities to get another tackle. It's an opportunity to make another play, to get another turnover. And then on the flip side of that, obviously, it's another chance to make a play like an offensive play. So.
But you mentioned Naheem and just how he hasn't been out there yet, but you're excited to have him out there. He mentioned last week that just from how he's kind of studied the play,
Yeah.
he feels that a player like him, who's a running back by nature, has kind of an advantage on him just because of how that neutral zone sort of sets up, which is more like a play. Do you see some truth into that as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I think obviously it's great to have a guy back there that has good vision and obviously a good run skill set. He has both of those. He's an explosive player that's had a lot of production in his past. I know he has multiple punt returns from me, and he had multiple kick returns when he was in Buffalo. And I think all that will translate into the new play. I really do.
You've done all this work on the new kickoff.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have a good handle on how it's going to look week one, or does it still feel like a mystery?
No, I mean, I think I do. I think I have a good feel on it. And I know that throughout training camp, once we get the pads on, there's definitely going to be some trial and error things that we're gonna mess around with. I know, like, and Tony, to your point, like the preseason, you're not going to want to show too much, but you're still going to have to see things. And I I think you're going to see more than you think in the preseason. I do. And I think for us, being able to have the joint practice against Minnesota will be really helpful for us. And when we practice it, and when I plan on going at it a good bit in training camp, we're going to have to practice hard, and we're going to practice it a lot. So we have to be on top of it and be ready for it.
During the off-season workout program, because it's so new, have you been devoting more time in the classroom or on the field, or do you just kind of replace the time that you normally do for kickoff with these new kickoff rules?
I'd say there's definitely been more time put into the new play. Yeah.
Dustin, excuse me, Bubba, do you have any plans to try to basically keep Dustin healthy, with twin pulled muscles and things like that?
Yeah.
Look at that.
I'd say tackles inside the 20 will help us.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That'd be great. Yeah. Yeah. If we can limit his time where he has to chase a returner, would be helpful.
I'm curious. The other, and I understand that's a superficial answer on the first one, but he had a history. These others were the same type of thing happening with him.
I think, last year I think he did a good job of communicating with us on the volume of kicks in practice. I think we saw really good results from, I would say, lower volume of kicks and kickoffs. So I think that'll have to be consistent with this season upcoming. And I think that he's a professional. He really is. He's a professional, and I trust him, and those other specialists have done a good job. So
is that why 3 kickers on the roster currently is to help maybe alleviate some of the wear and tear on Dustin's leg?
Right. So he hasn't been here that much in the off-season program. He's been training in Tennessee, and he'll be back for minicamp. I know that. Lucas gives us another leg for sure. He's a talented kid that also can punt. So it's advantageous for us to be able to carry a guy that can both kick and punt, kicks off well, and he's a right-footed guy. So now you have a right-footed punter and a left-footed punter in practice. So
you
just a couple more.
You joke about Dustin making tackles, but could this new kickoff rule expose kickers to maybe having to do more of that?
I think
you're kind of there by themselves back there.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to, I would say, spend more time with the kickers on, true tackling technique. And we've actually talked to the defensive secondary coaches about getting with our guys on some of the drills that they do. So, yeah, I think that you're going to have to anticipate that those guys are going to have to make a few more tackles.
Pretty good.
Thanks.
Garo, your Permian wouldn't like this rule.
Say it again.
Garo, your Permian wouldn't like this rule. You know that name?
The name sounds familiar. Who is that?
Dolphins. Way back kicker who was about 5'5" and didn't have any tackling.
Yeah, imagine Gary Anderson, making a tackle on this. Yeah, I don't think so.
Where's Deshaun kind of relative in his rehab to where you would hope he would be if he wasn't going through a rehab?
No, yeah, I think rehab versus non-rehab wise, obviously the reps. He's not getting the live reps out there on some of those 7-on-7 periods and things like that we're doing. But I think Kevin does a great job the way he structures practice in the off-season program. One, with the rules and doing what we're allowed, but then 2, that really allows Deshaun now to get some reps too, from not just strictly standing back behind a mental space. So I think it's a really good combination right now of him getting mental reps, him getting some of the live reps, quote unquote live reps that he can get in a more of a jog through tempo, and then obviously the routes and the throwing when he can't get in on his throwing days.
Now that you're out here on the grass, even though what you just said, how will your offense can get the most out of Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a constant evaluation to make sure we're doing the right things. That's part of developing an offense and coaching, to making sure we're maximizing our personnel as much as possible. And of course, that starts with Deshaun. So we're constantly going to be evaluating that, making sure we're doing the right things, especially as he gets out there and those reps continue to grow from a full speed standpoint.
Ken, when you see him throw the ball, today was the first time we saw him live, and it looked good, but have you seen him, I guess, really push it with the arm?
Yeah, I think kind of each day, it just keeps keeps going, and so I think that's part of this process, and it is a process. We went through a similar thing in Carolina with Cam coming off of shoulder surgery, where we had to make sure we were monitoring distance of throws. Couldn't go past a certain yardage. How many throws he's making at practice. All those things were basically throughout the entire year. So I think where he's at right now is kind of in that process right now. And as he gets more and more comfortable, and part of that's just the mental side of things too, that, okay, I could start really opening it up more and more because of the confidence in it, So I think there's a lot of that involved with it as well. But you see him continue like each day ramping it up a little bit more and more. He threw the ball down the sideline, a vertical throw today, and that's one I hadn't seen, from him a lot, because we haven't pushed him to do it. So that was good to see. So I think the more he grows and feels comfortable with it, the more you'll start seeing those things get ramped up more and more.
Ken, does it make your evaluation and putting the system in a little bit more challenging, knowing he's not at 100% and it's kind of a day-by-day situation?
I think that's a good question. I think what we're trying to do right now is, because of his situation, obviously, he's trying to get all the reps he possibly can from a mental standpoint, but we still want to install the offense, and we still want to, get everybody else, involved up to speed. So that puts a lot on us as coaches and in the quarterback room to make sure we're maximizing every learning tool possible. From the different camera angles to on the practice field, making sure we're talking, live as plays are going on and all that stuff. So, you don't want to limit, what you're installing just based off of, his availability, because, there's things that those other guys need to make sure they're getting reps on too.
Can the end product of your offense, how much would you estimate you'll be in shotgun versus 100%?
Again, I think it's a conglomerate effort, and between Kevin, myself, the whole coaching staff, there's a lot of input on those types of things, not only from the pass game, but obviously the run game as well. So to put a number on that, I think the season is so fluid, and a lot of times you don't really know because of the way this, the league has evolved in terms of what you can and can't do in training camp and OTAs and things like that. A lot of times those things are evolving until week 3 or 4 of the season, and it's not truly like set in stone until you get a really good feel in true live game action. So to answer your question long about, I think it's still an evolving process to determine exactly where we want to be from a gun versus under ratio.
Ken, what have you seen from Jameis as he's taken those live reps just in practice last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think James done a great job, and it's really encouraging. I think the most encouraging thing is all right, if we make a mistake and we go in the room and correct it, you see that being corrected the next day, on whether it's similar concepts, the same concept, whatever it is. So as a veteran guy who's played a lot of football and seen a lot of things, it's not like he's not open to the coaching and not open to the evolution of his game, and kind of how maybe we do things a little different than what he's used to. So he's done a great job from a leadership standpoint, from a execution standpoint, continuing to grow, and then taking what we're talking in there onto the grass.
Ken, how much does your personal experience as being an NFL quarterback and, of course, college, help you in your job as offensive?
I think it's a good question. I like to think it does help because when you're watching film and you're watching it from the side view and the back view and that wide angle, things look so different than from that perspective from under center. And it's like, why, just throw that. Well, it's like, from that view, it doesn't look the same all the time as that wide angle view. And when you can rewind it a few times and everything. So I think there's a understanding of some things are realistic, some things aren't from a what you ask those guys to do standpoint sometimes. And then just the understanding of, comfort level of that position is so important. They got to feel comfortable and confident in what they're doing because they're the ones pulling the trigger at the end of the day. So we got to make sure we're getting those guys to that point where they feel 100% ready to go and rip it and just able to react and not think about things.
Why do you like using?
Go
How do you like using those the choice routes that you have in your system? And I see Elijah over there talking. How do you think he kind of fits in?
Yeah, I think, we continue, again, that's part of us finding out who, if guys feel comfortable doing that, because some guys have that feel, and then other guys, right, it's just not part of their forte. So I think that's the good part is, like, right now, we're getting different guys doing it, whether it's, choice routes, whether it's, deep balls, inside route, whatever those concepts are, to see, who feels comfortable and who's got that knack for running certain things. So Elijah's been coming out, doing a great job, whether it's those types of concepts or just winning one-on-one matchups on a slant or a go ball or whatever. So that's part of that, this feeling out process and evaluation process for us as new coaches, and then for us as we evolve in our offense.
Is there, along the lines with those choice routes, is there a challenge as a coach teaching, making sure that the quarterback and the receiver are seeing the same thing and are on the same page? Because it feels like there's a danger of the quarterback would see one thing and the receiver see something different.
And to answer your question, yes. I mean, it takes reps. It takes them talking about it. It takes watching film. There's so many different aspects of, not only those routes, but a lot of different routes within the system. So, to answer your question, there's a lot of communication there. When we had Cole in Buffalo, there was an adjustment period, and getting on the same page. Like, that first year was like, is this gonna work? Because it just takes time for quarterback and receiver to get on the same page on some of those field routes.
Ken, bigger picture, as you and Kevin have rebuilt the offense and really just put your system into play, how helpful are OTs? Even though I know there's no contact, but being able to get reps on film and being able to actually see it play out on
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're watching tape or you're walking through and all that stuff, that is great. But to get live reps is huge, and in whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter the system. So yes, I think to be able to get out here, get live reps, to be able to teach off of, guys see it, things are happening fast. I mean, our defense is darn good, so things happen fast out there for those guys. So there's a teaching aspect of it, and I think the way you worded it was perfect. Like, it's not my system, it's not Kevin's, it's our system. You know what I mean? And so we're developing our system, and these reps right now are invaluable for us.